Cellphone tower battery theft is on the increase, and anti-crime activists are warning that South Africans could be charged more by network providers if this doesn't stop. 20 batteries were stolen in the last week alone. The public has been asked to immediately report the sale of stolen cellphone tower batteries to authorities. Let's talk about this some more now with anti-crime activist Yusuf Abramji joining us via Skype this evening. Yusuf, a very good evening to you. So tell us what's been happening out there with regard to the theft of cell tower batteries. Like we've been saying, just this week alone, we've seen the theft of 20, but what do you know about what's going on out there?
Good evening, Yuveka. We've seen a rather dramatic increase in the number of cell phone tower thefts over the past few months, especially. Thousands and thousands of rands of batteries are being stolen each and every month. In fact, we have had a few hundred cases being reported since the beginning of the year. I was approached by some of the cell phone companies to raise awareness just a few weeks ago. I must say, when I looked at the situation, we are really facing a crisis. These criminal syndicates, and I mentioned syndicates, which I will explain in a moment, are targeting as many of these cell phone towers across South Africa. Gauteng has been very, very hard hit. In fact, I just released some footage over the past few hours and some photographs just a few minutes ago of some of the gangs. This particular gang has been active in the Pretoria, Johannesburg area, had a pierced foot over the past few days. Last night, they struck in Soweto. They struck in other parts of Johannesburg. Earlier this week in Pretoria, the same gang. The 5 faces are very clearly captured on CCTV cameras. A reward of 10,000 rand for the arrest of each of these individuals for their conviction is now being offered. So we're dealing here with a real situation where these syndicates are very, very active.
Yusuf, who's buying these batteries and what would they be used for outside of these cell towers?
Well, these batteries, from the investigations over the past few weeks, we've seen that a number of these batteries, in fact, most of them are leaving South Africa into Zimbabwe. As a result of load shedding, they are being sold openly on the black market for just a few rand. These batteries are rather expensive. They're rather big. So a lot of them are leaving South Africa. Some of them are also being sold locally. So it appears to us that these criminal syndicates are targeting these gangs. Also, when I talk of syndicates, it appears that a number of gangs are on the prowl. And I must compliment MTN specifically. They've taken the lead. The operations manager, Ernest Paul, has been in the forefront of raising awareness. In fact, there was a meeting between some of the security companies and senior police officials just a few weeks ago. I alerted SARS just the other day about these batteries leaving South Africa. We need stricter border control, so we're dealing here with a serious situation.
How would somebody know? I mean, the public's been asked to immediately report the sale of any stolen batteries. How would we know that that is a stolen battery?
Well, these batteries clearly have certain identification marks. They'll have the brand name on it. We know that the cell phone towers, Yuveka, are being shared between the 4 major operators, the networks, namely Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, and Telkom. But there are some clear distinctions. If you can go on social media, you'll see some of those marks. These batteries are quite different from a usual car battery. They are rather big. They're about 4 or 5 times the size. And I must say, these thefts are now costing the industry millions and millions of rands. But very worrying also is that these criminal syndicates are damaging the infrastructure. So when they break into a cell phone tower, they're looking at damaging and stealing the cables. They break down the doors. The networks are going down in those particular areas for many, many hours. And that is why we're going to have a serious impact on not only the industry, but our economy if this matter is not addressed.
And how are they stored at these towers, Yusuf? I mean, you would have to imagine that there would be some pretty tight security, especially now with this problem being reported. And it's not new. It's been over the past couple of months as well. How are they housed at these towers?
So a typical tower is not a very big area. You'll find like almost a container, and they are housed inside the container within the units themselves. So what will happen, and you're right, this particular problem has now prompted the security companies, the networks to beef up security. CCTV cameras are being installed. We're looking at new technology in terms of tracking devices for these batteries. And alarms are also being installed, but it's virtually impossible to police every tower. We are talking of thousands and thousands of towers. But the good sign is that members of the public are slowly coming forward with information. Last week alone, several suspects were arrested. A number of batteries were recovered, but we are only talking a small tip of the iceberg. This particular syndicate that we are now focusing on, 4 or 5 members, they've been very, very active. They've hit a number of these towers in Gauteng. And I think if we can arrest them, it will be a major breakthrough. But it appears a number of these syndicates are operating across South Africa. In fact, just last night, there were about 4 or 5 incidents in the other provinces as well.
Right, thanks very much for that. That's anti-crime activist Yusuf Abramji just telling us how the theft of these cell tower batteries will filter down to us customers eventually.